Hey, good morning and welcome to this month's Wake Up West Coast. My name is Jody Ozarski. I have the privilege of being on the team at the West Coast Chamber, and whether you're joining us here in person or online, I am so grateful that you have chosen to start your day with us here today. If you've paid attention to the slides at all this morning, they've been rolling along. One of the things that we've added this year is lists of new members. We want to make sure that you're aware of people who have more recently joined us so that you can be intentional in reaching out and welcoming them to the chamber as well. New members aren't the only new face for us. We have a new old face. Ooh, that's probably the wrong way to say that. We have a new young face with us. If you saw our recent announcement that Jess Lynch has accepted the executive director role at Neighbors Plus, a nonprofit that she's super passionate about. We were sad to lose Jess, but so excited for her and the journey that she's on and the impact that she'll make at Neighbors Plus. But then our team took some time to think about, gosh, who would be ideal to join our team? And can you believe that our whole team agreed and had the same name at the top of the list? And that was Lindsay Younglove. And Lindsay has officially joined us on our staff. Today's day 2. So I'm guessing many of you already know Lindsay. She was an ambassador at the Chamber before joining us at our staff. Frankly, that's the same path that Britt and I both took to being on the team. So she's been around and been a part of the Chamber, and now just in a new capacity. So if you haven't met Lindsay yet, take time to get to know her. She's just going to be an amazing addition to our team. Our team also extends to our sponsors, and this morning I hope you took some time out in the lobby to greet our morning mingle sponsor, First National Bank of Michigan. Greg Accardo and his team are here this morning. Greg, thank you for continuing to be a great supporter of the Chamber. Will you join me in thanking Greg? Our program sponsor this morning is Quality Car Wash, and in a season of gratitude, Quality Car Wash is right at the top of the list. I mean, we got a full table of quality team members here this month, and that's not just unique to this month. They're here regularly investing in their team and being a part of this and supporting the Chamber as they go. But I'm super excited about their program sponsorship this morning because Mandy called me, a week or so ago, and she said, I have an idea. Can we shake up how we do the sponsorship thing? And I was like, yes, girl, tell me more. And so you guys are in for a treat. You chose the right Wake Up West Coast to come to. Let's just get that out of the way. So Mandy, welcome. Thank you for being here. Tell us a little bit about what you got going on.
All right, so happy November. It's the month of being thankful as Thanksgiving kicks off our holiday season. In the middle of your table, we've got a couple things for you to pull out, and we're so thankful for each one of you as guests, and we have an Express Interior Cleaning voucher for you, so you can each take one, put it in your pocket.
Listen to the ooh.
And our Express Interior Cleaning is at our North River location. If you haven't been there yet, it's really great. We've got a great team that will clean the inside of your car and make it smell really good, especially if you have kids. Sometimes it doesn't smell so good. So that is for you.
Do they charge extra for removing like little children's French fries and goldfish crackers?
No charging extra. Nope.
All right, perfect.
So use that for you. Put it in your pocket. It's a great time. Secondly, I know that everyone's always busy, and so we thought it'd be really cool for everyone to take a minute, and there's a note card in the center of your table for each one of you. If you want to take a minute and write a thank you card to someone that you've been meaning to thank and you just haven't gotten around to it, you've been busy, now is the time to pause, to write that thank you note, and then you have a second interior that you're going to put into that card for them. So you can give the gift of being thankful for someone.
Ooh.
You can mail it, you can deliver it, whatever, but you are going to use this as a gift in a moment to quick pause in life and to write out a thank you card.
If you need a hand thinking about getting this started, these don't have to be complicated, right? So up on the screen, Hannah's got a couple of prompts just to get your mind going in the right direction and to think about how you might start or who you might write a thank you note to and share a car interior cleaning with. So while you're doing that, Mandy, bring us up to date on a couple of other things going on at Quality Car Wash.
All right, so also on your table, you have our magazine. This is our second edition. We publish every year, or twice a year, for our team members. Also available at the Interior Clean and some of our C stores as well. Just kind of fun information about the team, always highlighting a team member. Julie's here with us today. She's gonna be super mad I did this, but she just celebrated 30 years with Quality Car Wash. She's our Director of Operations. As well as a lot of members on our team. Dan's been 20 years. Tom has been forever, another 20 years. So we have got a great, long-standing team. But in addition to that, Black Friday is coming up. So as we look to the holidays, our car washes will be buy two, get two free again. Clubs will be buy 2 months, get 1 month. So come visit any of our sites on Black Friday. Again, all your clubs are good at the Quality locations or Tommy's Express locations. You're starting to see more Tommy's Express pop up. We've got over 260 locations across the country, and now also in Paris and Canada. So kind of fun and exciting as we watch that brand grow. While Quality maintains our legacy brand here in Holland, we're continuing to grow worldwide. So that's really all I've got, but I just want to say thank you, everybody, for being part of the Chamber, and thanks for being our guest here in town.
Mandy, thank you for being a great supporter of the Chamber, of this community. You and your team continue to show up in meaningful ways. And based on the oohs and ahs that I heard this morning, I think you have a bunch of new fans here as well. So we're going to give you a couple of extra minutes for your networking and thank you note writing. You know that there's always a networking component, so we're going to have you going around at your table today and sharing your name, your company, and what it is that you're grateful for. It may just be what you're writing your thank you note about, or maybe it's something altogether different. But take a few minutes, write those thank you notes, get to know the people around you, and we will be back shortly with a main event. Thanks, everybody. Okay, welcome back. I hope you had some time to think about gratitude, who you might be thanking with those cards, getting some of those written. Make sure if you didn't get that done that you take that with you at the end and get that sent out. It means so much when somebody gets an unexpected thank you. I know how it feels to me when I get those, and you want to bless somebody in that same way. So make sure that you take time to do that. Thank you again to Mandy and the team for the generosity in making that happen. That's amazing. So now we are on to the main event this morning. We have a dynamic innovator and entrepreneur here with us this morning that's shaping the future of work. She's the co-founder of the Join Collective and founding partner of Regenerous Labs, two powerhouse organizations that are driving creative transformation. She's an expert in designing human-centered AI-powered solutions that spark innovation and help teams thrive. So I don't know what all that means, but I know that that sounds like something that we should be considering. So with that, I would like you to join me in welcoming Taryn Kuchis to the stage.
Good morning, good morning. Everybody hear me okay? Great. Well, thank you, Jody, and to the entire chamber for having me here this morning. I'm so excited. This is a topic that is rapidly changing and evolving. And I will be candid, even in, we aligned on this topic 4-6 months ago, which in the world of AI is like a lifetime. And we have learned even so much in that short time. So what started out as this topic being about, individual creativity with AI, we've actually discovered something even bigger. That's important to really know before you can be effective as any one individual within an organization and within creativity. And so I'm going to start at a high level. Everybody's always wanting AI to zoom in, zoom in, zoom in, get tactical. I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to zoom out, zoom out, zoom out, give us the understanding of the landscape and what it means for organizations, what's driving the change, why is it important, and then we'll kind of get a little bit deeper into creativity. So the second thing I'm going to preface is there's two main use cases in our world for AI. One is efficiency, and one is creativity. So you think robots, you think automation, you think all of that. That's efficiency in our minds. We're not going there today. We're talking the other side of AI and what it has the power to do. So before I get into all of that, I'm just going to share a little bit about myself. I'm a Spartan. My undergrad's actually in mechanical engineering. And then I went on to get my MBA in design thinking and innovation from a small private college in Arkansas, John Brown University. And my career spanned across medical device, automotive, and then in the technology development, innovation, consultancy space. And most recently founded my own organization called Join Collective with my business partner, Kemi, who's here. And I'm also a founding member of an organization called Regenerous Labs, which is an innovation lab that's been around for about 2 years. It's spearheaded by an innovation leader from Microsoft. She was the innovation lead at the data center of the future. And so we are talking big, big, big things. That is such a great avenue to see what's going on in the world at a high level. And then I'm so excited to be able to bring it back here to West Michigan and the organizations that live and breathe here and understand what's happening at the coast, what's happening in the data centers of the future, and how is all that going to come together and impact the businesses we lead and live in every day. And then just a little bit of a fun fact. My heart loves northern Michigan. I spent my summers up in Leland, in Fishtown. I was very fortunate to be up there actually this past weekend. Love West Michigan and North Michigan. And then we also spend a lot of time in Longboat Key, Florida. So kind of 2 places are home away from home for me. Want to just include a little fun fact. So let's talk about the 5th Industrial Revolution for a minute, because this is really what is behind so much of the change that's happening. And in just a minute, I'll share why this is so different than any other revolution that we've gone through as an industry. So you go all the way back, right? First, mechanization, right? All of a sudden, machines started replacing humans. Things changed. Then electricity was invented. We started getting a little bit more efficient. We were able to scale our operations. Then came computers and the internet, and we were able to digitize some things. We were able to see some things that we hadn't been able to see before, to put data around things. And then, of course, automation, which is the revolution or the era we're kind of just wrapping up as we're entering into the 5th. And this is really where AI started coming around, right? We did a lot of data analytics, a lot of algorithms. We're able to start predicting things, start seeing things. But now we're entering this whole new era, which is categorized by the 5th Industrial Revolution. And the premise of this era is really about humans and AI and technology working together for the good of people, of the planet. It's about empathy. It's about regeneration. It's about sustainability. And so if you look across all of these, 1, 2, 3, and 4 were about efficiency. They were about scale. They were about doing things faster, doing things smarter. And now all of a sudden we're entering this era where this is about doing things, all of those things, but also doing it better for the good of people and planet. And it's about us being more human in the midst of even further technology advances. And so that has a pretty significant impact for organizations when you think about it. This one is human-centric. That means organizations can't just upgrade their tech stacks like maybe they had done before and expect it to kind of run flawlessly and be seamless and look at this, we added this technology or this automation tool and things are all of a sudden working better and working faster. Because this is so deeply human, it's really about evolving your business architectures. And I'll explain what those 2 things are in just a minute. The other really interesting thing about this revolution is this is the first one where technology is adopted by consumers before industry. So even if ChatGPT isn't all of our best friends, you're seeing it in all the common apps we're using, right? You're probably seeing it at your doctor's offices. You're seeing it in Amazon apps. Many of us, as we've talked to so many, are using ChatGPT in our daily life. And what's interesting, you think about that, within industry, the adoption is actually a little bit slower. Maybe not across the board, but in like the macro sense of really an organization embracing this technology and living it every day and breathing it every day. But our personal lives it's starting to become ingrained, especially when you think about the younger generation, right? In all of our future workforces, they're growing up with this and they're craving to use it in their work lives, just like they're using it in their personal lives. And so for so many reasons, this fifth industrial revolution is different. And it's and we're all like, we're figuring it out, right? I don't know how many conversations I have. It's, how are you doing? It's like, right, we're figuring it out. You know, we're managing, we're treading water, and it's different, right? And it's tricky to know where to navigate. One of the things we wanted to get clear is because this feels like a bigger evolution. It feels bigger than adding some new tools to our toolkits. It feels bigger than a plugin that automates X to Y. It feels deeper, and what's really exciting is you think about the fifth industrial revolution is causing us all to evolve. I had a lot of conversations about transformation versus evolution, and on one hand you could argue they're one and the same thing, but on the other hand you could argue that transformation is somewhat voluntary. Or you're completely becoming something brand new. If you transform, you go from one thing and become something brand new. But with evolution, you actually just build off of what you currently have, and it's necessary. You're evolving due to what's happening in the world around you. You're not changing who you are at your core, who your business is at your core, but you're evolving into kind of the version that you can all be now with technology. And so we define business evolution as the continuous process through which an organization adapts to the needs of its people, stakeholders, and environment, using modern technology to realize its potential and live its values authentically. And if you think about that, that is really, really exciting. To live our values authentically, both as people and as organizations, and technology and AI is a vehicle and a path to actually do that, that changes the paradigm a little bit about what AI can do, from faster, smarter, better, to more authentic, more human, more prosperous. And so as we think about business evolution, what we've really uncovered is in order to evolve successfully, organizations need to balance their business architecture with their behavioral architecture. And another thing that we're noticing is most organizations are prioritizing and investing in their business architecture. This kind of breaks down what I mean by business architecture and behavior architecture. So on the business architecture side, you have your people and your roles, right? What the org must be, the skills, the responsibilities, how does our org chart need to shift, what new leaders do we need to put into place, what new skills might our team need to adopt. You have your process and your workflows, how the work actually gets done, what tools are you implementing there, what automations are you implementing there on the AI side. You, of course, have your data and analytics. We can collect more data now. We can analyze that data a lot faster. We can get new insights from that data. And then you have your technology and tools. So what are the tools you're using to do all of that? That's where the focus and that's where the investment is happening. People are so hungry, society, for these quick wins, right? What's an AI quick win? What can we implement? But the thing that's often being missed is the behavior side. And that AI quick win or that tool is not going to be nearly successful if you don't think about the behavior side, which is our mindsets and our willingness as people and as organizations to actually change. Our values and how those drive action, our leadership and the collective, that is the people made up of our team, and our surroundings. Are we willing to co-create in the unknown? What does that look like? And then, of course, innovation and even joy in our workspace. Have we created space for creativity, joy, and new ways of working? Without the behavior side of the architecture, the best tools and process and workflow diagrams you create become extremely less valuable. And we've dug into the research a little bit more. I want to make a quick business case for why that's so. There's data and research that suggests, again, up to 80% of these AI quick wins fail. So then we thought, well, why? Why is it? Is that people don't quite know the technology, don't know how to use it yet, maybe they didn't implement it right? What is the reason for it? And this is a quote that was pulled out, the bottom one here, from a Harvard Business Review article. Now, it's not perfect, I might have said it a little differently, but their quote is, most firms struggle to capture real value from AI, not because the technology fails, but because their people, processes, and politics, which goes back to leadership, right, in many cases, and organizational norms. All the behavior side is what's causing them to fail. And that's one data point, but as we looked at the research, that's what kept coming up time and time and time and time again. And then in addition, we said, okay, how can we really communicate that there is tangible, quantitative value in investing in behavioral architecture and the strategy behind AI initiatives and the strategy behind business evolution, and doing it with a lot of intentionality? And we found a formula, and if anybody's interested in unpacking this, I'll be around later because we can unpack how we come up to a number. But really the ROI for an investment in this type of thinking and this type of work is your savings from avoided failure, plus the value from faster execution, plus your value of increased adoption, plus your value of workforce innovation, minus the cost of strategy. And data would suggest that if you go into AI quick wins, pilots, change management with a clear strategy, and you're focusing on some of the behavioral architecture, your chance of failure actually decreases by 50%. And contrary to what we might think, doing some strategy and thinking and intentionality up front actually makes people 30 to 40% faster in what they implemented at the end of the day. So again, it's the tortoise and hare almost analogy, right? You think you got to go fast, go fast, go fast, go fast, go fast. But if you take your time and you're intentional about what you do, you actually get to the finish line faster. Another data point of why it's included in this ROI calculator is intentional change management, behavior architecture, strategy again. It increases adoption from about 30% to upwards of 80 to 90% of your team actually using the new tools that you're bringing to the table, the automations you're putting in place, and the creative assets that you're bringing. And then last is this value of workforce innovation. When you think about the behaviors of your team members across anything, they feel included. And their individual capacity, which is where creative intelligence comes in, and we'll get down to the individual level here in just a minute, but their creative capacity and the value they bring every day increases by 10 to 15%. And so you can quickly see just in some of the percentages there of how this ROI, when we've ran this calculator, we've seen anywhere from a 3 to 7x increase in return versus alone of just implementing a new solution or implementing a new tool or asking the team to do it differently. So then that kind of takes us here to another thing that we've uncovered is understanding where you're at, maybe as an individual, but as an organization at large. This is a very simplified version of a framework that we have, and I will give a plug that at the end of this talk, there's a QR code you can scan. You can take an assessment and see where you fall, your organization falls here. But if you look here, the y-axis here is your behavioral architecture. Your x-axis is your business architecture. So when you have low business architecture, low behavioral architecture, you're kind of existing as a static operator. So you have some things you know you need to change, but you're pretty rigid, right? Your tools are pretty rigid, your processes are, your people's appetite for change, it's not super high. If you move over into this category where your business architecture is on the high side, but your behavioral is still lacking a little bit, you have a well-oiled machine. You guys are operating and your efficiency is probably great, but there's not a lot of room for adaptability. There's not a lot of space for change, and the appetite for change and innovation is low. And then it brings you up here to kind of contrast that, where you maybe have low business architecture, but you're really high on behavioral. So you got all these people with all these great ideas who want to change, who want to grow, who want to develop, but there's no structure in a way for them to do that. So it's kind of just chaotic, right? You hear all over, well, this person does it this way, and we tried this, and we did, and you're just, There's a lot going on. And then that brings you to the far right, which very few organizations candidly fall in the far right yet. That's what we're all learning how to evolve into, are these adaptive engines where we have clear processes, we have structure, but we're also open to change, and we're figuring out ways to change intentionally, change frequently, bring on new tools, think differently, work new ways. That is kind of equal parts systemic and change and balance. And so this just kind of gives us a way to think about at the business level of what's behind AI adoption, what's behind businesses being more efficient, what's behind businesses being more creative. And this is the stuff that we're really hoping more people start taking a holistic view on. Because again, we're wired. What's the quick win? How quick can I get an ROI? What's the fastest way to implement this tool? How do I go? And those things are all great, followed by the intentional shift that needs to happen on both sides. So now we're going to kind of get into, we've laid the groundwork on the individual side, because each one of us in this room contributes to the behavioral architecture of our organizations. And one of those elements on the behavioral architecture was this concept of innovation and joy. And so you could ask yourself, even yourself personally or more broadly, am I making space, or is there space for creativity, joy, and new ways of working in our day-to-day? Or is it just constant firefighting and continuing to do the things that we've always done? And you can make space for that by thinking of this concept called creative intelligence. So this is really a new habit that we all need to form and strengthen. And so what we mean by this is, before AI and some of the creative LLM tools were available to us, if you were alone at your desk or at home and you wanted to ideate on something or brainstorm on something, it was almost as good as talking to a wall. You can input some things, but you're not getting a whole lot back, right? You could draw on the board, but you're not really engaging in a way that feels meaningful and valuable. But now, if you think about the mindset shift that needs to happen, all of us have tools at our fingertips that's like collaborating with thousands of brilliant minds with a ton of experience and research. And so when we think about problem solving as humans, our tendency is to, here's the problem, how do I, as quickly as I can, close the gap and find the solution? What AI gives us is the ability to have more creative intelligence. So here's our problem, get curious and explore the problem first before you drive to solutions. Before, that took a ton of time to do manual research. It took a ton of time to gather all the data, all the inputs, and then try to analyze it and gain insights from it in a clear way. Today, that's no longer the case. But habits, right? Habits as humans, we start with a problem and we go to a solution. This is about shifting our behaviors and really tapping into creative intelligence and using AI to help us think about solving problems in new and creative and different ways. I'm going to get into 3 tools to help us do that, but there's one kind of mindset that needs to be reinforced in order for that concept to be effective. And that's that AI is just a thought partner. You are still the thought leader. And it seems really simple, but I've talked to so many people that give up on AI because, the data was wrong. It didn't do what I wanted to do 100%. It doesn't, solve and completely replace it. But that, in many cases, isn't the purpose of it. The purpose of it is to be a thought partner to you as a decision maker, you as the leader, you as the creative thinker. And so if we can frame AI in a way that becomes a partner to us, you don't have to take everything the thought partner says at face value. And quite honestly, at this point, you probably shouldn't, right? But it can unlock new ways of thinking. And so I have 3 simple tools in which we've tried to rewire our habits around problem solving and creativity. And instead of when you're faced with a challenge, what do you do? And so the first one is just a simple set of prompts. It's just a simple set of prompts, but if you start using these regularly, it changes the way you and your team might solve problems or go and tackle a new solution. So these are 3 of the most common ones that we use every day in our work. Number 1, enter the problem or thing you're trying to solve and ask AI, any LLM model, what are 10 unseen angles or assumptions we may be ignoring? Number 2, input your challenge statement and ask AI to write it as how might we statements. There's so much data and research behind the power of reframing challenges and opportunities into how might we's versus this is an issue, this is an issue, this is an issue, this is an issue, and the impact it has on your team and your ability to solve that is absolutely phenomenal if you frame it as more of an opportunity and a how might we. And then the last one is generate 20 unconventional ideas for how we could solve problem X, making sure half the ideas break industry norms. Again, just that exercise can be done in 30 seconds. And this is the habit of we rely on going to talk to our neighbor at work, or just going to our own pen and paper. But this is the behavior side of this tool that if we can rewire the way that we start working and the way we solve challenges, this is how you increase your creative intelligence and ultimately start building up your behavioral architecture. The second one, to maybe contrast that a little bit, is I've had a lot of conversations with people of, okay, now that AI is here, how much do we all still need to know our craft? How much are we talked a lot about calculators, right? Like how much do we need to do mental math because calculators are a tool that always exists, and how much do we need to be able to, generate, design models now that all these tools will do it for us? And the thing we keep coming back to is you need to validate AI. And so knowing how to do something is so incredibly important to getting the work done, because if you can't validate AI or have perspective of how this thing should be put together, how this part should be made, you can't act as the thought leader anymore. You can't be the thought leader. And so as a method that we use, because it is easy to fall into the trap of, I'm just going to go have AI do that. We follow the 2-6-2 method, which is just really simple. It's 20% of your problem solving or what you want to go do is first done independently with your own knowledge, intuition, wisdom. And quite frankly, it's even done with a pen and paper. Then you use AI in the middle to help. That's where some of those creativity prompts kind of come in. Use AI to help you think differently, to pull out new ideas, to brainstorm a little bit. And then the last 20% you tailor, right? You understand the context in which you're doing it. You understand the people in which you're driving something forward. You understand the values of the organization you're doing. So if you think about collaborating with AI and using your own creative intelligence, this 2-6-2 method is a really good process in which, again, the habit forming of how do you work really well with it and how do you improve your own creative intelligence is something that we practice and live by. And then lastly, this is purely a tool, which I don't know how many people have used this tool called NotebookLM. It is a Google Suite tool. It is a wonderful tool for increasing collaboration and alignment within your teams. And so what it does is it takes a whole bunch of data that you give it. So unlike an LLM, which is a large language model, which means it's going out across the entire internet, this is just an LM, and it's only referencing the data and the information you put into it. So what it does is we've held multiple workshops and had a bunch of different conversations with people. And then you get to a point where you need to get team members aligned. You need to get them up to speed. You want to hear their perspective on a topic. We have uploaded the documents and reference materials that we've had into NotebookLM, and it generates a podcast episode or a short video that recaps the main points of everything that you've taken, weeks or days to discuss into a really simple, clear way that helps your team understand it. And it's like a springboard for collaboration and alignment. And I'm actually going to demo that tool here. The next slide, I asked with very little kind of coaching, I gave NotebookLM this presentation and said, can you create a short video clip for me that would, explain this talk in 90 seconds to somebody that wasn't here? So when I hit next, that video is going to play for you in just a minute.
Today, we're digging into how to not just survive, but really thrive in this new era. We're now in the 5th industrial revolution. It's all about humans and AI working together. But there's a catch. And it's a huge one. Get this. A whopping 80% of new AI projects, they're just not delivering. So, is the tech broken? Surprisingly, no. The problem isn't the technology at all. The real roadblock is actually inside our own companies. Success is way more than just a tech upgrade. This calls for a new approach, business evolution. It's all about constantly adapting and growing.
And it boils down to balancing two key things: the what your organization is and how it behaves.
Here's the thing, most companies get stuck on the what, but that's only half the story. Real evolution happens when you connect your processes with how your people actually think and feel. Okay, but does all this how stuff really make a difference to the bottom line? Let's check the numbers. Let's break down the ROI. First off, by avoiding project failure, you save cold, hard cash. And when your team is on the same page, they get stuff done faster. That means instant value. Plus, an engaged team comes up with way better ideas. That's a massive value boost from within. So the total return in this scenario, almost 4 times what you put in. That's huge. Okay, this sounds great, right? But where do you even start? It all begins with a mindset shift. The key is seeing AI as a partner in thought, not a replacement. You're still the leader. Let's get practical. Tool number 1, use AI to seriously boost your team's creativity with prompts. Have it hunt for blind spots, reframe challenges, or just spitball some crazy game-changing ideas. Next up, there's a simple, structured method for working with AI to get the absolute best results. Think on your own first, then bring in the AI. Finally, you'll refine its output with your own expertise. Look, the world has changed. Acting with yesterday's logic just won't cut it anymore. So, are you ready?
So again, that took all of 5 minutes of giving it a presentation, but you think of the hours it takes to come up with something, right, and you're sharing it. This is a tool we use all the time in our innovation lab and also in Join Collective, where we go and we're out in the world and we're reading articles and we're seeing things, and all these dots are connecting in our own heads, and then it's like, well, how in the world do we get 8 other people to digest it quickly and see it differently? And this also helps with different learning styles as well. For all of us, we consume information in different ways, right? Some of it's reading, some of it's hearing, some of it's watching. And so it's just been a really amazing tool to help us kind of increase that collaboration and even that creative intelligence when you see something like that differently. And the video kind of foreshadowed a little bit. Just I'll end with this quote from Peter Drucker, which I thought was just so impactful. And it's, the greatest danger in times of turbulence is not the turbulence, it is to act with yesterday's logic. And I know that's something we're all kind of facing and wrestling with as we're navigating this 5th Industrial Revolution and what it means. But hopefully today this gave you some different perspective of the AI landscape, and you can really understand what it means to evolve and how to connect back to the creative capacity of our people and then the efficiency of our business operations. So with that, we do have, I believe, a couple minutes for questions, if anybody has questions. And again, right there, that QR code is for the Evolution Readiness Assessment. It takes about 5 or so minutes. It'll ask you a series of questions, and then you'll kind of be able to get a report following it that shows you where you stand on that matrix that we showed, from creative chaos to static operator. It'll also give you some perspective of the split in terms of your business architecture and your behavioral architecture, and where you stand, a little bit more logic behind that. And then, of course, there's my name, phone number, email, our website to Join Collective. If you want to talk through any of this further, I am so happy and excited and love the topic, and would take a phone call or email or a text from any of you. But with that, anybody have any questions they want to ask? Coming with a mic.
So I have a question. So how do companies in this revolution evolve without losing their identity or overwhelming their employees?
Yeah, that's a great one. I think it comes back to the intentionality of the change you want to make. And what's really great is when we're working with organizations, we're actually starting with a lot of their values and understanding who they are as an organization, and then using the tools and process updates to live into those values versus trying to completely change who they are. It actually starts with the foundation of who they are first, and then you build it around that. And that's some of the challenges when you focus so much on the business architecture that can be lost. And it can feel a little bit like, as human beings, we don't like to change. We might say we do, but at the end of the day, we don't like to change. And so it's bringing in the intentionality, the change management side of it that has really been making the impact and designing around who an organization is, not trying to completely transform them into something new. Oh.
Hi, except besides Notebook LM, are there other tools that you recommend?
Oh, there's a lot of different tools across the spectrum of efficiency and automation and creativity. On the efficiency side and automation tools, if you guys are familiar with Zapier and the Make.coms of the world are really great tools that everybody can use with pretty low technical skills to be able to connect some of those automations. We use a lot of the, kind of the ChatGPTs and the Claude, but what we're finding is using those in what they're really good at. So we found that Claude is really well. It works the best when you're trying to kind of ideate and co-create a concept, and you really want to go to that critical thinking level deeper. ChatGPT works really well when you're trying to communicate that. So lots of times we're using multiple models. Another research tool we use a lot is called Manus. Manus is think of it as having industry data research reports kind of at your fingertips. It's MANUS, I think, .ai. We use that a lot when we're trying to gather research and put that together. Perplexity is, of course, another one in that domain. It's a lot of the tool. You don't need to reinvent the tools all the time. Is what we're finding. It's in how you use them, more so the value of the tools, and those are the ones that we use all the time.
A couple of things on the behavioral change. My work in the years has been recycling and environmental stewardship, and changing environmental activities like recycling was taking away everybody's trash bin and putting in recycling centers and watching them like deer in the headlights when you do that.
Yeah.
But what are some examples maybe of some of the behavioral changes, a few of them that you can bring people along towards these bigger changes?
Yep, yeah, that's a great question. I shared an AI mindset up on the screen, but the power of mindsets is somewhat mind-blowing. If you can align around, and mindsets are things like, what's a good example? Of here at this organization, we value who we are as individuals and see AI as a way to enhance that creatively. That could be a mindset that somebody has around how you evolve and how you change. So having those mindsets documented and then behaviors that match those mindsets. It's the work of just putting that out on paper. There's so many hidden assumptions right behind the values, the mindsets, the behaviors, and getting those out on paper and scenario planning with your team. So if this is a mindset of ours, how does that show up in day-to-day? Let's document the behavior, and then let's play out a scenario in which you might come across doing that. So we have seen that just the intentionality of documenting things that are softer have been a huge impact to the way that people go about starting to change their behavior and to see the other side. The other thing is the empathy side, right? It's thinking, strategically and clearly of if I make this change, who are all the stakeholders that are going to be impacted by this change, and how are they going to be impacted differently? And so a lot of that is in the human-centered design thinking. If you're familiar with that concept, right, that comes in a lot as you're going through behavior change of understanding not just the tangible thing in front of you, but thinking through a journey map or thinking how a change in tool or a change in behavior is going to impact those around you. But I keep coming back to this word, the intentionality of it all and the thoughtfulness of it all and the communication are really the pillars that drive that behavior change. It's the understanding of what's going to change and why, how it impacts them, and how does it connect to them.
How do you overcome fear of protecting intellectual property or client confidentiality when you implement AI?
Yeah, it's very tailored to the organization. So what's so interesting is the appetite, the mindset, if you will, around that. So we work with Microsoft as an example. Their AI security policy is actually a lot less stringent than many of the firms here. And so I think number one is understanding what those policies are and then designing the solutions around them. So with Microsoft, they're okay using ChatGPT as long as the little box is checked that says, do not share my data. And they're great with that approach. Then there's other organizations here where you have to completely lock it down, right? And that's totally fair and understandable. Notebook LM is a tool that we like a lot because it doesn't share your company's data outside of that specific tool and that specific instance. But people who are on Copilot and running Copilot, it's so hard to have a one-size-fits-all. Copilot is a great AI tool that keeps all of your company's data kind of safe, and it goes back to the documentation of, again, AI governance and guidelines, of, again, the behavior change side of giving people clear expectations for what can you share within outside models, what can you not. And so it's hard to be tailored, but I think, a lot of also tools that we're using every day, just like the Amazon apps, our QuickBook apps, right? All of our modeling tool, our design tools, our ERP systems, they're all coming up with AI. So now it's starting to just really get clear of how are your people and your process and your data all working together within the tools and systems you already have, and where do you need to kind of update and implement those in accordance with your security guidelines. We've, I will say, have not come across a scenario where we haven't been able to follow the security guidelines that are needed, whether it's in Copilot or Gemini or Notebook LM or something else. But it is certainly a part of the AI conversation and absolutely needs to be. Good.
Questions? All right.
Perfect. And
Good.
look at that. 16 seconds to
I'm
go.
telling you,
couldn't
it's
have planned
amazing how
any
that
better.
works. We didn't even need AI to get that right on time. Hey, Taryn, thank you. My mind is whirling. I'm
Good.
just anxious to go into a quiet space for a minute and start processing how this shows up for our team.
Great.
I appreciate the insights that you shared. Will you join me in thanking Taryn? Thank you as well this morning to our sponsors, First National Bank and Quality Car Wash. Make sure that you take time to write that thank you note, get that out in the mail, share a little bit of joy with someone special in your life. Thank you to both of our sponsors. You join me in thanking them. All right, and then coming up, as we look ahead a little bit different for the next couple of months, Wake Up West Coast next month shows up as Breakfast with our Congressman. So we will be back here at Hayworth for breakfast on December 15. It's a week later than usual, but that's what we're doing to accommodate the schedule for Congress being in session. So hopefully you'll be able to join us and to hear from the Congressman. There's just been a little bit going on in D.C. Actually, there's been very little going on in D.C., but we expect more to be coming. So it'll be great to be able to hear from the Congressman, to understand what's happening and what we can expect going forward in 2026. Thinking about going forward, in January, we will be at Engedi Church for Wake Up West Coast, and that will be our annual economic forecast. I can't tell you how many times I've thought back to last year, or I guess this year's economic forecast in January of 2025. And Dr. Isley said the word of the year is going to be uncertainty. And I remember at that time thinking, well, that's not very positive. And boy, I can't tell you how many times I've heard that word this year as it relates to the economy. He nailed it last year. I can't wait to hear what he has to say this year, and I'm surely hoping that it's something more positive than uncertainty. So add to your calendar, January 13, economic forecast at Engedi Church. And with that, I'll say thank you very much for joining us today. Go make it a remarkable day.